we might have some breaking news that we need to cover.
Ooh, that was good. Last time we had breaking news, Nicholas Sturgeon got arrested.
Unfortunately, she got unarrested later.
Yeah, I was going to say, not that that went particularly far.
Well,
So there is something about the Wagner group possibly moving on Moscow.
yeah, I saw some stuff about that,
a lot
but
of people
it's
saying that's a psyop.
I'm trying to figure out because there's just a lot of news within the last half hour.
it's been going on for like the last 3 or 4 hours, and I've looked and gone, there's absolutely nothing here you can draw a conclusion on. And they're all going, oh, yeah, they're rebelling against Putin because he's evil. And I'm sitting here going, someone's money ran out.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
They're mercenaries.
It's...
But, like, what the fuck do people expect mercenaries to do? Oh, the mercenaries are fighting against Putin for the well-being of the Russian people. Fuck off, they're mercenaries.
It's they're fighting for their own interest.
It's almost as if someone's come along with a bigger paycheck to say, maybe you should turn tail and start attacking someone else and change your position.
Is that what the 40 trillion to Ukraine was for?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Probably. Maybe that's what they were using the money for, because they clearly weren't using it to beat the Russians.
It's just so strange reading through it. It's like, okay, yeah, there's all these grandiose claims. It's like, yes, they're going to overthrow the Kremlin, or
no, they're not. Like, they're going to get wiped out.
Bullshit.
They're going to go back to fighting properly when Putin signs their next paycheck.
It's probably that. They're like, they offered us this much money, so we're going to get given this much money.
It's like a fucking train driver strike. Oh, we're not getting paid enough, so we're going to strike. It's just that when mercenaries strike, it gets a bit more exciting and noisier.
My guess is they're just like, nah, we're not getting paid. Fuck it, we're going home. That's my guess is what's really going on.
They're probably just firing off rounds as they go past or something.
Yeah.
But obviously this is propaganda, so it has to be blown into we're having a Russian coup.
Yeah.
For all this Ukraine war, what an amazing turnaround. It could be the end of the war.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
That's what mercenaries want, the war to end.
Yeah, because it's just very entertaining. It's reading the low trash CNN, because they had a map that I could look at. It's like, oh, there's an apparent insurrection and claim control of 2 military facilities in cities. It's like, okay. So,
right,
what does that actually mean?
It probably means that they were in those 2 military facilities, went on strike, someone decided to push the issue, and got shot for their trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah, and apparently they were shooting at the FSB or something, and it's all a load of bunk.
I mean, who wouldn't want to shoot it at the FSB? They're just ATB light.
It sounds like another opportunity to distract people from the fucking Hunter Biden case. Exactly. While they're trying to do their fucking election thing. Oh, well, no, Hunter's fine. Don't look at him. Look over here at the Russians.
Yeah. I'm also willing to bet that the CIA or somebody like that said, hey, yeah, we'll pay you more money. That's where this accounting error of $6.1 million or $1 billion happened. It's like, we didn't accidentally pay them.
Yeah, it's like, can you just stop fighting for a bit? Because that's never happened in human history. There's never been, in all of human history, a case where someone's rocked up to the mercenaries while they were on their way to the battle and gone, what if you just fucked off for all this money?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I mean, that's not the worst strategy. Like, if you absolutely need to win a battle and the mercenaries that are coming will outnumber you, if you can just pay them to kind of accidentally be late by a day.
Yeah.
Like, that's happened hundreds of times in just the Middle Ages.
It's the topic of multiple movies through the years. Like, Last Valley is a good example. Mercenaries go in, somebody's paying them off, and they're like, oh, but we can make more money here, terrorizing this town.
Yeah, let's do... Fuck me, Michael Caine was in it. Last Valley. Yeah. Oh my god, are they all pretending to be Scottish? No, German.
No, this is somewhere in Germany.
Then why are they all looking hairy? I mean, I suppose Germany. What do we got?
Yeah, they didn't really know how to do the 100
Yeah,
Years' War correctly, or 30 Years' War. I can't
The
remember.
captain leads a band of mercenaries who fight for whoever will pay them. So they are Scottish. His soldiers pillage the countryside, raping and looting when not fighting. Still thinking Scottish, Vogel is a former teacher and runs from the captain's... Okay, so he's a deserter.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, trippy, like 70s movie.
Yeah. Based on a book.
It's got a great musical score.
Music by John Barry, yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if either there was a pay dispute with the mercenaries wanting more, where either the money's stopped or the mercenaries want more, or there's outside interference with the pay and the mercenaries are acting up because of it.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that's interesting. There is a psyop version of the Wagner group talking about going into Moscow, and it's like, yeah, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when they actually show me real evidence.
Yeah. Callum says mercs are meant to be under contract, but meant and actually are quite different. Yes, but as we've all established from all of human history, if their word meant anything, they wouldn't be fucking mercenaries now, would they? They'd be sworn to a lord.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting. Marcus is pointing out, heard Russian military shelled Wagner troops on purpose. So, yeah, that could be it. You know, where they're trying to get payback.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you fucking did this, you shithead. You killed some of my men. We're going to come
that's
and take
entirely
it
possible as well. But I guarantee... I was going to say really that, but no, I guarantee the Wagner group is not fighting back against Putin because they've decided that he's an evil dictator who's going to lead Russia to ruin. I guarantee it's anything but that. Hell, I'd be more inclined to believe that Ukraine took the trillions of dollars that have just been shut on them and gone, we'll just fucking bribe the mercenaries. Which, to be fair, would probably be a better use of the money than whatever the fuck it's been spent on.
Yeah, and it's one of these... They're talking about, increasing security around Moscow, mobilizing troops, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, yes, that could be very true, but at the same time, until we get more information on this, what the Wagner group's actually doing, I'm highly skeptical.
I don't know if we'll ever even know their actual motivations.
No, because Pigarny, or whatever the guy's name, or Prigozhin, will probably get murked at some point himself, and it's like, oh well, gee, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, ex-KGB officer Putin. Yeah, he totally wouldn't have anyone whacked.
Yeah, not like he's done it a million times before. Wait, what?
No, he's just taking a page out of Hillary Clinton's book.
That's always made me speculate. Was Hillary really a Soviet asset at one point in her life?
Maybe she taught Putin how to take care of political opposition.
It's like Rosa, was it Klebb in From Russia with Love?
Maybe. That's a fun movie. No, wait, I'm confusing it with something else as well, but there's another movie that's even hilarious. GTO Marcus says, yeah, no, Wagner doesn't give a damn about Putin being a dictator. The payback or them getting a better deal are more believable theories. Indeed. Yeah, I'm sure the whole thing's bollocks. Well, there's obviously there's obviously
something's going on.
There's a suspicious amount of gunfire in Moscow, but I don't think the motivations are as we are being told.
Yeah, because there are some interesting photos floating around, but they're from Reuters, and it's like...
Yeah, because they've established themselves to be a bastion of fucking truth over the last 3 years, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, actually, they've been slightly better than a lot, but still.
Yeah, and I wish I was fluent in Russian, because they've got, video clips of Putin, and it's like, well, here's a subcaption. It's like, yeah, but what does it really say? Yeah, subtitles are always suspicious. Because even when they're not lying, they can be missing important subtext. Yeah, and just, like, certain turns of phrases in certain cultures have different implications. And,
yeah. And that's it. Like, if you literally interpret a turn of phrase, It's not going to make any sense, and it could mean something wildly different.
Yeah, I'm considering how many times we trim up over Anglosphere
Nonsense,
commentaries.
yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Or like Marcus says, someone please kindly translate the English bullshit that is yeah, nah, and nah, yeah. Kindly translate that to any other language for me, thanks. I'm waiting to see how that goes for you. Because that's a very... I thought it was a very Australian thing. The yeah, nah.
Nah, yeah. Yeah, just yeah, so that's a little bit of current news. But, yeah, figured that would be
It's very interesting, but
keeping us on top of things.
Yeah, maybe something actually concrete will come out. I'll wait for the Al Jazeera report.
Yeah, just about.
Because I've found that when it's not concerning something that's happened in the Muslim world, Al Jazeera is probably the most accurate.
Fair. At least their biases going in too.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Like they're obviously pro-Muslim, so I don't trust them on anything to do with anything Muslims. But when it's a bunch of Westerners fucking about with another bunch of Westerners, Al Jazeera's usually going, look at the stupid Westerners, and being entirely accurate about it. Because why would they need to lie to make the West look stupid?
Exactly. Well, there is a Al Jazeera article that is...
Oh, well, there you go
fresh
then.
By 30 minutes, so...
Well, we might as well look at it then.
Yeah. So, sorry, that just derailed everything, but it's like, this is interesting. This is...
Yeah, here we go. Russia-Ukraine war live. Putin says Wagner rebellion a betrayal. So, Russian President Putin says an armed mutiny by the Wagner group is treason. They're mercenaries. But fair enough.
Yeah, how can you be treason if you're a merc?
Yeah. Well, I suppose if they're Russian, it's treason because they're Russians, but like, what do you expect from mercenaries? So, decisive action will be taken against them. The authorities in Moscow and the surrounding area say they've declared a counter-terrorism state of emergency after Wagner boss Yevgeny... Yeah, don't care.
Erosion or something like that.
Prigozhin, yeah, that sounds about right. Claimed his forces were in control of military sites in Rostov. Don't care what...
Down in the Ukraine. The Luga region south of Moscow introduced travel restrictions.
Yeah.
Please refrain from traveling in private vehicle on roads unless absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
From the governor, Shapsha.
Yeah. Latvia tightens border security. Fair enough. Wagner forces moving across Lipetsk region en route to Moscow. Interesting. They're moving across the Lipetsk region, some 400 kilometers south of Moscow, governor has said, en route to Moscow after pledging to overthrow Russia's military leadership. Okay, so apparently it is some kind of coup. I don't care what the foreign governments are doing. Town disputes in Russia, a gift to the West, says Belarus.
I imagine they fucking succeed. You're going to replace one bald man with another bald man.
We're going to replace a leader who was elected as democratically as any Western leader. And you can take that however you like it. Elected as democratically as any Western leader, and you're going to replace him with a guy who's just undertaking a military coup. Yeah, that'll be fucking better. The deranged militant. That'll go well.
It's like reading this quote from Blinken. It's like, yeah, no, I don't trust any of this.
Yeah, like US to coordinate with allies, don't care. Iran says don't care. Could Ukraine take advantage of Wagner crisis? Well, what a stupid question is that? Of course they can, and they'd be stupid not to. Here we go. Russian soldiers set machine gun position on Moscow outskirts report. Russian soldiers set a machine gun position on the southwest edge of Moscow, according to photographs published by the Vedomosti newspaper. And photographs also show armed police gathering at the point where the M4 highway, which the Wagner mercenaries are moving along, reaches the Russian capital. Wagner fighters took Rostov Army HQ without firing a shot, says Prigozhin. One, I don't believe anything that guy has to say. And two, it's not terribly difficult to take over a place without firing a shot if you plan it and you're allowed in.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like these people are invited onto the military base because they're mercenaries. If
Yep.
they do it right.
And then they, while no one's looking, load up all their guns and then position themselves, synchronize watches, and at exactly dark 30, stick a gun in the back of everyone who matters and goes, fine, ours now.
Yep.
Prigozhin using the takeover of Rostov facilities to form a bargaining chip. Yeah, no shit, what kind of spastic would you have to be to think otherwise? Pro-war nationalists in Russia say they'll publish action plan to protect country. Well, that's of absolutely no use to anyone.
Yeah.
Putin is working as usual in the Kremlin. Of course he is. Putin is an effective statesman, no matter what you think of him.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that the smartest thing to do is to continue working. Semblance of normality, semblance of control. It's the only way he could look strong. If he was running away while they're 400 kilometers away, that would harm his position more than anything they can do.
Yeah, it's interesting because I popped in TASS, which is Soviet state news, but just to see if there's anything different. Yeah, they're talking about imposing travel restrictions in and around Moscow,
which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, apparently they're not doing that. Moscow imposes no restrictions on incoming, outgoing traffic. Well, there you go. They've asked Muscovites to trust only official sources. Yeah, on something like that, probably best to only look at official sources. I wouldn't trust them for the reasoning behind anything.
No.
Yeah, and Putin says we'll defend both our people and our statehood from any threats, including internal treachery. Well, what the fuck else was he meant to say? Was he going to say, oh, I've decided to cede the presidency to the terrorists, which is what they would be from the Russian government's point of view. Or traitors, actually, rather than terrorists, because apparently I don't think we've seen them attacking civilian targets yet.
Not that I've seen any reporting.
And you fucking know that if they were attacking civilian targets, the Russian state media would be falling over themselves to tell everyone about it. It's one of those things that you see all over. That like in the Ukraine. I'm trying to think of actual examples while I preamble, but we've seen it in just the Ukraine conflict in general. We've seen it in US politics, where we know that something hasn't happened, because if it had, the fucking media would be standing on the top of the fucking building screaming it, because they'd love nothing better than for it to actually happen.
Yeah. Tristan's asking, suppose the government shut down, stop paying the U.S. Army, how long until mass desertions happen? That would be an interesting question. I think that would actually be dependent on if there's any negotiations within the government to continue pay. It's just a matter of when. Versus, no, we're not going to pay you for X number of days. Then, the contract becomes void.
Well, we've isn't that essentially what happened in the last government shutdown?
That was with national parks, not the military.
Oh, okay, but there was some bollocks.
Yeah, and basically, we're shutting everything down. Yada yada yada. It's like fine.
But there's a difference between mass desertion, because you're not getting paid, and turning around and fighting to DC. Now, to be fair, I'm not saying that I'd get up on my soapbox and oppose such a thing, but it's very different to go, the money has stopped and the food has stopped, I'm leaving and trying it on my own, versus the money has stopped and therefore I am taking my tank and driving to Washington.
I'm just very skeptical of anything other than, I'm going home.
Yeah. Granted, a lot of them might help. A lot of them would probably help themselves to some freebies. You could absolutely bet that people would be paying themselves night vision goggles.
Oh, I would. Hell yeah.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want night vision goggles?
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that.
Like if there was a government shutdown that was severe enough that the army wasn't getting paid, you'd know they'd be taking at minimum their service weapon with them, because at that point, stupid things like the NFA don't matter anymore, because there's no government to enforce it.
And it's everybody. Yeah, I hear. Especially with the U.S. Oh, you can't fight the government. It's like they think that everybody's going to stay loyal just out of a matter of principle. No, they're going to be like, well, what's in my best interest personally?
Yes.
It's fucking off and going
Also,
home.
counterpoint, the stand counterpoints: 1, Vietnam; 2, Iraq; 3, Afghanistan. How was that war in Iraq going?
Yep.
What's Saigon called at the moment?
Oh, isn't it Ho Chi Minh City still?
Mm-hmm. It's almost as if the US had to withdraw from their policing action.
Yep.
So we've established that guerrilla warfare works, but also it's a lot easier to convince a soldier to shoot a guy of a different race in a different country than it is to convince him to shoot Bob down the street. Especially when Bob's shooting back.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Nile Bobcat points out as well, an F-16 or a nuke can't raid your house. That's it. You can't hold ground with weapons of mass destruction.
Yep.
If you want to subdue a populace rather than just eliminate them, you need to put boots on the ground. See again, Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't disagree that we couldn't have just solved the Taliban problem by nuking the fucking place.
Well, I'm honestly, I part of me is like the rhetoric we've heard from U.S. congressmen in the past decade. They would have absolutely no compunction on just exterminating an entire.
Well, I think any politician that says, "Oh, you can't take on the U.S. Army; it's futile to try," if you've thought about that, that means you're contemplating treason. And elected officials, just contemplating it should count. And I don't give a shit about treason against the government. The government can fuck off. Treason against the people. That's where the real crimes are, and we've been seeing a lot of that over the last decade. Treason against the people rather than treason against the government. But yeah, they're not like how does the U.S. Army subdue 360 something million Americans? Given that there's like 2 guns per American.
Yeah, it's an impossible task unless it's extermination.
It would be done through fear, if anything.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah,
but you'd have to also what level.
You'd have to get a lot of people very angry with the government for them to all take up arms, and that's what they're banking on, that they won't be able to get enough of a militia, basically.
It depends, because it depends on how aggressive they go. We've seen what their current plan is. It's been a slow erosion, step by step, like turning out the pot of water with the frog, and hoping the frog doesn't notice. That's what they've been doing, and that's why I don't think they'll go to force of arms. They're just hoping that everyone will gradually forget. They're hoping that generationally, people will forget how to be based,
and that's what. The education system is definitely all about.
Exactly. Because if they turned around tomorrow and went, the federal government is revoking states' rights and seizing control, one, the National Guard would probably step in, but also people would go, oh, no.
Yeah, because, you'd have the National Guard in various states saying, yeah, no, we're protecting the borders of the state and stabilizing things. We're not going batshit crazy.
Yeah. As Major says, the Biden regime immediately spoke of joining US citizens inside America. Wouldn't put anything past them at this point. I wouldn't put it past them to want to do that. But one drone strike on American citizens, that would turn the I don't really like this into actually standing up. Like we saw the protests over the American government drone striking fucking losers in some shithole third world country. Imagine how they'd react if it's America. If they tried something like that in the States, there would be armed protests, and if the government tried to suppress the armed protests, it would be open rebellion. And this is why that's one of the reasons why open carry one of the places where open carry protests have their point. This protest is so important that if the government tries to stop it, the government must be dispersed by force of arms. Because watch them try and bring in the fucking tanks to stop an open carry protest over drones striking Americans. Because that's how you win. All you need, not necessarily win, but it's how you escalate.
How you shift narrative.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Sometimes you need to escalate the force. Like, if the US government does start going utterly insane and drone striking hillbillies, then you
Like,
need
fuck
an
up.
but then that's when you need an escalation of force. That's where you need a bunch of guys to stand there and go, fucking come and try us. Go on, we're standing here protesting this, saying that you're evil scum. Come get us. Because if you come get us, doesn't matter if we all die. We saw what it's about. It's about raising the consciousness of the rest of the nation at that point.
Yep. I mean, martyrdom is a powerful thing in politics.
Mm-hmm. And like, it's not the desired end goal necessarily, but and that's kind of what I guess that's kind of what I'm suggesting though. Threaten the government to make you a martyr is sometimes necessary. Sometimes you need to stand in front of the tank and dare the government to make you a martyr.
Yep.
And hell, that's all you need to roll it. All you need is some dude standing on Main Street as the federal tanks come rolling down and just refuse to move. What are they going to do? Better yet, do it at Port Arms.
Yeah.
Stand there, Port Arms, with your rifle as the tanks come rolling down the streets. See what fucking happens. But hell, an unarmed one might actually be more effective there. Get half a dozen dudes to just stand in the middle of the fucking street, linking arms and singing Kumbaya as the tanks come rolling down. I mean, the hippies basically did that at What's-Its-Tits University before the government massacred a bunch of them.
Oh, Kent State.
Yeah. And anyone who says the government...
Ohio National Guard did nothing wrong.
Because they were hippies.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not wrong that the measure that the regime would just trot out some bullshit like white supremacy or the Waco or Ruby Ridge. Yeah, but again, that's why I'm saying, why I'm not saying barricade yourselves, because they'll immediately pull some bullshit like that. No, what you need, protests that refuse to be dispersed. And I'm not talking about riots, I mean protests, God bless the Second Amendment protests, where you have a bunch of guys holding American flags with both hands and an AR strapped to their chest. Stop that protest if you dare. Go on, make some martyrs. On that note, and yes, the government will try and suppress the things, they'll try and shut down the news. On that note, if you don't have if you're listening to us and you don't have an ham radio license, why not? Or rather, if you don't have a ham radio set, why not? Licenses here. Well,
get familiar. Know how to build antennas.
Yeah.
Not hard.
Exactly. And again, if they try, of course they can try and jam all that shit, but the more they have to do, the more the middle ground shifts. The more people get rolled up. And it's about forcing the government to be more aggressive. Because if they just take it away, shreds at a time.
Classical moment in American history during the American Revolution. You had a group of settlers in Tennessee who said they weren't involved with anything, and then you get Major Patrick Ferguson and his American volunteers, the Loyalists, saying, "Yeah, we're going to come over. Unless you declare your loyalty to the crown, we're going to come over there and burn your things." So what did they do? The Over Mountain men were like, "Yeah, well, fuck you. You threatened us, so we're going to come up over there and fuck up your shit," and they wiped out his entire command.
Oh, yeah. God bless the Appalachians.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like you don't want to go there if you've got hostile intent.
No.
Because hell, during the American Civil War, that part of Tennessee were being threatened by the rest of the state of Tennessee and other Confederate states. So what did they do? They joined Union and Union forces created brigades and wiped out one of the famous Confederate raiders.
Yep,
so.
Shit has hit the fan when the trees start speaking banjo.
Exactly.
Ding, 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 ding. Honestly, that's probably the closest I've ever gone to that. I should get a banjo. Sit here dueling banjos.
Yeah. Or even better, dueling trim noises.
Yes. The other issue that they've got with the army can beat the civilians. Well, yes, but see Ukraine's current problem. What happens if half the army says no? Now, we know that's why...
It's only a third.
We know that's why they're purging the red, white, and blue-blooded Americans from the army, but Hell, it doesn't even need to be that much. What happens if just 1% of the army refuses orders and frags a general?
Yep.
It doesn't need it, and we've seen it happen in France. You don't need to necessarily violently resist. You can just be subversive and fuck shit up. Oh, what happens if orders are delayed? What happens if orders are missent? What? Oh no, I miskeyed the email address. Sorry, boss.
Yeah. It doesn't take much to undermine an entire establishment these days, especially with so little trust.
Yeah, and especially when one of the options is you've now armed a bunch of soldiers and you're getting them ready to go on patrol to suppress the resistance, and then as they walk past the officer, they shoot him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Like, we saw that happen in Vietnam and Korea. It's not.
Yep.
If they're going to do that over being sent to fight a bunch of other people, what would they do about being sent to fight Americans? You just absolutely know that half the fucking generals would get fragged in an hour. Well, maybe not the generals, but that would be a sudden, drastic decrease in the amount of officers in the American army if such orders went out.
And you know, the NCOs run the gig anyway, so.
Mm-hmm. And the NCOs would probably be the ones sticking in the rifle to the officer and going, "Have you considered changing your plans on following those orders, sir?"
Mm-hmm.
No? What a shame.
Oh dear, yeah. You've decided to cross that line, which no military should ever have to.
What's that? I am duty-bound to refuse unlawful and unconstitutional orders? What's that? I'm also duty-bound to stop other people from committing war crimes? Oopsie-doozy. And yeah, like, at least a third to a half of the military would refuse. Probably more than probably like 3/4 would refuse orders, but a significant percentage would take action to stop imminent unconstitutional activity. Some of them do take that oath to the Constitution quite seriously, and I'd be willing to bet that whole enemies thrown in domestic part does not exclude the lieutenant.
Yeah, that's just. And it's funny. You talk to anybody that's dot mill and like they even the ones that are left leaning will have that moment of I don't think this is a good idea for us to do anything dastardly.
No,
it's going to go very, very, very negatively, amongst the average. So so that's our breaking news. But there are shenanigans afoot as usual.
Much shenaniganry, but yeah. Quite often you can tell what things that aren't happening because things legitimately aren't happening because they would be so politically advantageous to the group that's reporting that if there was even a hint of a whiff of some things happening, they'd be screaming it from the rooftops. So if there's nothing, there's nothing. Which coincidentally is my theory as to why the moon landing wasn't faked. Because if it was, fucking know the Russians would have been screaming it from the rooftops.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sure the Russians were sitting there on long-range radar or in a telescope or something going, fucking crash, come on, crash, you bastards. and then when they got the radio, it was like, shit. Because I'm sure if the Russians could have done anything to disprove it, they would have. Because it would have been the most politically effective thing for them to do. But because they didn't, that's why I'm reckoning that the Americans were the first there. And
they would have been able to, intercept and decode the radio transmissions. So, if they'd been able to say, yep, this is provably false, they would have done it in a heartbeat.
They wouldn't have taken a chance for a second. If you enjoyed this segment from the Sons of Chardonnay podcast, please consider joining us live exclusively on rumble.com/c/Sons of Chardonnay. A special thanks to our Subscribe Star supporters who you can currently see scrolling past on your screen.